Hi, this is Darren Drew from D. Drew Guitars. I'm still working on this fretboard that I've been working on. Here's the next step on how I do my dot markers to give it a look like this. These are all inlaid, you can see. You can see them very well on a dark stage even. On the bottom, I even put file marks where you can feel it on the bottom side of the neck. They're not obstructive, so you don't, feel them unless you really want to. And then you can also see the markers on the front side. I do the top and bottom like this. It gives this type of a neck a cool look. And so the way I go about that is I have my fretboard, and I've already done some of the notches here. Last time I put the fret slots in, and they're not exactly deep enough because they don't have to be right now. So, and then also what I've done now is I mark the center of where my inlay is going to go. I'll clamp it down in the vise. And first I use just a little pole saw. It's got really sharp teeth, so you want to be very careful. I like doing it with the fretboard towards me in case it chips it out like it did this little bit here. Hopefully the radiusing of the fretboard, once it's glued on the neck, will take care of it. If it's on the bottom side, then you have to fill it, and you're going to probably notice it. So I'll just make a little mark here on where I think it should be, on my pencil mark. And you just want to go real slowly at first. And it's going to be wider than this, obviously. So now it's not exactly in the center. So I can just take my saw and move it over just a touch. With the saw like this, you want to be very careful not to chip it out. You also want to keep it straight in line this way and this way, So it will come out straight up and down at the end product. And see, I can work this back and forth a little bit to get my line exactly in the center. Okay, see, now I'm going off a little bit this way, so now I can just adjust it. You want to keep looking at it to make sure you're going to be going down the center of your fret lines. And then what I want to do is just go real nice and easy. Go down to this black line right here, because it's going to be ebony inlay just like that the black stripe is on the fretboard. Making sure that it stays straight up and down like this also. And then I will get a file that's bigger than the slot here. And see, that looks pretty darn close in the center. And if I wanted to move it over at this point, all I do is put a little bit more pressure one direction or the other to make it in the center. But this looks really good. So I'll just take it down with this. Most of the way, and then I'll get a wider file. See, and I look to make sure that it's straight this way, because now is the time when I want to correct it if it's not correct. And it looks just a touch wider on this side, so then as I'm doing this one, I will pull it a little bit towards me, or towards the outside, and come on. And then I just want to go all the way down to the bottom, keeping this nice and flat this way until I just hit the ebony stripe. And that looks really good. Now I'll go to the wider file, in which I have my binding piece here that I'm using to cut up 4 of these little pieces like this that will be going into the slot. And I know which, I always pick out the size of width of this for the size of file I want, or use the size of file. And now I'll just make sure that this slot is the proper width. You can still chip out the wood, to be, try and do it as carefully as possible. But this is my own style of doing inlays, due to the fact that doing the round ones after your fretboard's already on the neck and radiused, it's very difficult to get it that close to the very edge of the fretboard. It's very difficult. And then if you're using the pearlescent type, mother pearl, they may not reflect all the same. And then you're going to be sanding more on the side of the fretboard to make it perfectly smooth. And then it's not going to be the exact width that you want it also. So if I do it now, as my fretboard's already the right width, no matter how much I radius it, it's going to come out perfect, the full width of the fretboard every time, because it has to. So to me, this is a much better approach of doing my dot markers. It looks really good. You can see them on a dark stage, which is very important for any player. Okay, so now I have that all the way down to the ebony. Make sure that this will mainly fit, and you want it to fit in really tight so that it makes a perfect seam line. So then I'll just get some super glue, and I will make sure I get it everywhere in there. Then I'll have my piece that's already pre-cut, that it's got perfect 90-degree corners on it too. I'll just tap this all the way in and down. And I want to make sure it goes all the way down, so I'll just do this. Wipe off the excess, so I don't have to sand it off later, because that's more sanding. Every time you sand, it makes wood smaller. So now that's in there good. So then I'll do all the rest of them the same way, tapping it in all the way around. And then I will take it to my bandsaw, and I'll just trim it off here, and I'll trim it off here. And then I'll take it to my belt sander, right up over there. And then I'll sand it off, like this, nice and smooth on every side. And then all my dot markers will be completed. And then I will be I'll be ready to glue my fretboard onto my neck. And I'll show you that part when I get there. But that's how I do my dot markers. They come out really cool looking. Everybody loves them. I like them. You can see them on a dark stage. See, they stand out really nicely. They're different than everybody else's too, and I like doing things different than everybody. I like this way better. It's easier to see, and that's the main reason why I do this, because it's easier to feel. Because the best of the best players, man, they're constantly looking at their markers to see where they're at. I like doing the top and bottom because it looks uniform. Anyway, this is Darren Drew. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll teach you some more woodworking and guitar building steps in the future. Thank you.